Hello, hello. My name is Wirdum. I'm a Bitcoin Magazine veteran and the author of the Genesis book. I'm joined by Shinobi, Liam, and Eric. I'll let you guys introduce yourself. Let's start with Shinobi on the left, or the right for you guys.
Technical editor at Bitcoin Magazine and very skilled at pissing people off on the internet.
Chief scientist at Alpen Labs, do like cryptography research, SNARKs on Bitcoin.
Do you want to explain in like half a minute what Alpen Labs is?
Yeah.
Those who don't know?
So we're making a Bitcoin rollup, yeah, I don't know. Wanna like enhance the functionality of Bitcoin. So
A Bitcoin development company in any case. Mm-hmm. Eric?
I'm the co-founder of Taproot Wizards, together with Udi Wertheimer, and I guess one of the main antagonists in Bitcoin culture. It's spamming the chain with JPEGs and championing potentially harmful Bitcoin upgrade proposals like concatenating strings and just causing problems for people, I guess.
Causing problems left and right. Okay, so the topic of the panel is what futures does Bitcoin need for global adoption? I want to start by kind of challenging that assumption, and I'll start with you, Eric. Is Bitcoin right now sufficient to achieve global adoption? Are any new futures even needed? What do you think?
Well, I have a very long answer to this question that I don't know if I want to get into the whole thing, but I think that there are some interesting developments that is happening. Unironically, I actually do think that there's some actual legitimacy to the current efforts at building trust-minimized bridges to other execution environments on Bitcoin. What we've had going on for the last couple of years now is that there's actually been some reintroduction of actual brain power back into Bitcoin. People like Liam, for example, there's actually people thought that the rootstock sidechain, for example, that they've basically been counted out. No one's really paying any attention to what they're doing, but they have some pretty good cryptographers there. They're working under a research group called Fargate Labs. We also have the StarkNet team. We have the Citrea guys, and sorry if I'm missing any major ones, but I guess I get Robin Linus and the CirrusSync team. All of these teams have, for a couple of years now, really been trying to come up with these ugly quirks and weird hacks in the Bitcoin protocol. And in only the last couple of months am I starting to see, it's kind of I don't know how to describe it, it's, if you're trying to unscrew something and you need some grease, you need some gravel in a chain for to get grip around the screw for the things to start to come off. I think, Liam, you can sort of resonate with this. The screws are starting to come off, and some of the ugliest properties of BitVM bridges, the size of the scripts and the capital inefficiencies, I'm starting to finally see that there might be a path that we can build trust-minimized bridges that are maybe good. They're not completely useless. There may actually there's starting to be some light at the end of the tunnel, and so it is really an interesting question. Do we need anything else? I think eventually.
Hang on, I want to take one step back, and maybe this is then a question for Liam. You're talking about trust-minimized bridges. Why are they even necessary? What are we talking about? What is the problem that's even trying to be solved here? Or in other words, why is Bitcoin not already globally adopted? Is there a technical problem that needs to be solved?
I don't think it scales, and it's not private. There's a lot of things that are lacking. So Bitcoin isn't fungible because it's not private, and everybody can track everything you're doing. So if we want those properties that Bitcoin was supposed to have, I don't think in its current form it's possible without
Okay,
something
you-
like SNARK verification.
Sorry, so you're saying what is missing in its what Bitcoin is missing is scalability and fungibility. These are two properties you just mentioned. These properties can be offered by are we talking about a sidechain, a different protocol, and that can be tagged to Bitcoin. That's essentially the argument, right? Am I breaking it down okay?
I think I want them in like a trust minimized or trustless way. So with a sort of like liquid style sidechain, you're trusting some federation to custody the
Yes.
funds. So we know how to do that without this trust assumption. It's just not quite possible with Bitcoin right now.
Okay, it is or it isn't. It's in the current the current Bitcoin protocol. You're saying we cannot do it trustlessly yet. So a new future is necessary for that to make that happen.
I don't know. It's hard to say. I think the research has been progressing well, and we can get pretty close. But like, if we could just do SNARK verification on Bitcoin, everything would be a lot simpler and better.
Okay, Shinobi, what do you think?
Well, I think like disentangling the asset from the network is the first thing you need to do. Like as far as Bitcoin, the asset scaling to the world, people just having a claim to that, that's doable right now. But scaling Bitcoin, the network, and people's ability to actually transact peer-to-peer on it, we're nowhere close. And the reality is it's just not possible for everybody to actually like get their transaction confirmed on chain. There isn't enough throughput, and kind of the second order effect of that is it's not even possible for everybody to own their own Bitcoin UTXO on chain. And so I think like the real core of that problem, without kind of going the direction that Bitcoin Cash wants, which essentially completely sacrifices the decentralization for that throughput, is we need to find ways for people to share control of a UTXO. And that means Bitcoin as a system needs to be able to verify things like how is that distribution of funds in a UTXO spread around off-chain? How can that be proven on the base layer in a verifiable way? And what kinds of protocols can we build for users to be able to coordinate and change that distribution and always have something that they can take to the base layer if necessary that can properly verify that how funds are distributed with that UTXO being broken up are done correctly.
Okay, real quick. What you're saying is Bitcoin can currently scale to global adoption, but it would then lose its trustless abilities, right? Like its trustless futures would get lost, which is possible, but it's maybe not what you or anyone else on this stage would ideally want, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So to scale Bitcoin in a way that you do keep the trustless properties, what do we need, in your view, Shinobi? Let's go.
Well, you ultimately need a way to share authorization control for that UTXO and to be able to prove that as that changes off-chain, like this is the most recent balanced distribution amongst everybody sharing that UTXO. And like Liam and what they're doing at Alpen Labs with the zero knowledge research, like that is, in my opinion, in the long term, probably the only clean, viable path to do that. Like to actually be able to construct very small, succinct proofs that can prove in a verifiable way very complicated conditions or properties about how these UTXOs are being shared, how that distribution is being updated off-chain. And it's really the only way that we have to kind of go forward in that direction without very clunky, inefficient, like messy ways of constructing those proofs.
Okay. So I think what I'm understanding, it's still a bit of an open question to what extent these things can be achieved without a Bitcoin protocol upgrade. Is that correct?
Yes.
consensus on the panel that that is still an open question. Okay, so what are some, let's slightly pivot then. What are some current Bitcoin protocol upgrades that are on the table that you guys would like to see? Let's start with Eric, if any.
I mean, should be obvious. The upgrade that that I've been championing for the last couple of years is just string concatenation in Bitcoin script. I mean, the Taproot upgrade that happened 4 years ago was specifically designed and came with a bunch of new opcodes called op successes, which are designed to purpose. They were specifically designed so that you could soft fork in stack modifying opcodes as a soft fork into Bitcoin. So some people may not know this, but for example, if you take Dogecoin, which doesn't have SegWit or Taproot, you cannot do opcat as a soft fork on Dogecoin. It would be a hard fork. But Bitcoin is specifically like designed to allow these like string concatenation to be soft forked in. And if you take the authors of the Taproot BIP and you poll them, I guarantee you that two out of three, Peter Willey, Andrew Polstra, and Gregory Maxwell, 2 out of 3 of those people will either say that they are surprised or disappointed that this has not happened yet.
Can you, sorry, for anyone in the audience that's not very technical, can you explain what you're talking about? What is opcat?
Yeah.
What does it do?
So Bitcoin script, you can think of it like a very basic like calculator. There are different buttons. There's like a button for addition, a button for, actually there's not a button for multiplication, unfortunately. There's a button for SHA hashing. There's no button for concatenating strings. And if you ever used like a Linux computer and you've looked at the manual, concatenation is like one of the most basic primitives of computer programming. Turns out that if you can concatenate things and you can hash things, you can build Merkle trees inside Bitcoin script. If you can Merkleize things in Bitcoin script, you can build SNARK verifiers. And what we were talking about earlier, SNARK verification, ZK verification, is the even Satoshi, Hal Finney, and Gregory Maxwell back in the days, in 2010, 2011, all of them were looking for ways like how can we increase the privacy of Bitcoin and how can we increase the scalability of Bitcoin. And they were kind of circling around that ZK verification is the way in which you can prove computation efficiently and privately. So that has been the golden dream for like Satoshi, Hal Finney, and all these people that were into Bitcoin development in the early days. And so getting a SNARK verifier into Bitcoin would be what, if they were around today, that is what they would be trying to do. And the simplest way to get a SNARK, like a native SNARK verifier into Bitcoin would be to just allow for string concatenation in the script language. There's no like super easy to like actually explain what I'm talking about here.
Well,
if you don't.
Let me ask you the question in a different way and see if you can answer it this way. So there's right now someone walking around in Hong Kong that's not using Bitcoin. Let's say we get this upgrade in Bitcoin. Why is this person now going to use Bitcoin?
Well, so if you had SNARK verification natively on Bitcoin, it would be a lot easier to build trustless bridges to environments where you don't need channels. You don't need to like download a Bitcoin node and set up an inbound, like have a channel set up to you so that you can receive coins. You could just receive, like how crypto is supposed to work is that I generate an address. Here's my address. And you're supposed to be able to send me any amount of coins that you have, and it should be private. You should not have to worry about what you're revealing about yourself when you're spending those coins, when you're sending it to someone else. Like, no one should be able to trace the entirety of your financial history when you're using those coins. And that is not like currently possible on Bitcoin today. So that's what SNARK verification or SNARK verification would allow you to do. Like Liam's trying to do this. He's trying to do SNARK verification optimistically. And maybe you can give some words on like how that's going and what kind of opcodes would really help you with your work in order to make that happen.
Sure. Yeah, I think it's going pretty well. People might have heard of like the BitVM line of work. I think of like what I'm working on as a sort of next evolution of that. So because we don't have opcat and we don't have the ability to verify a SNARK directly on chain, we have these like kind of what are called optimistic protocols. So instead of verifying a proof, you like claim that a proof is valid, and then I can prove that it's not like invalid. So it's like a two-step thing. And so if you're cheating, I can prove it, and that can be verified on Bitcoin. So one way this was done previously was with BitVM. It was very expensive. This new technique of Glock using garbled circuits moves all of the, or essentially all of the complexity off chain. So I think these protocols are becoming quite practical. There are a number of like issues with them though. So like they require pre-signing. If we had some kind of covenant mechanism, we could do these protocols without pre-signing. Asterisk, you know, there's like a lot of details that this is, you know, glossing over. But
Do you have a preferred one?
Whichever one is most likely to like work.
CTV would get the job done for this particular situation.
Okay, again, I want to break some of this down a little bit for the non-technical people in the audience. Maybe there's a good one for you, Shinobi. So, Liam, you mentioned BitVM, which is a way to do smart contracts, you know, on a second layer Bitcoin protocol, essentially, right? And with covenant, so covenants would help that as well.
They remove one of the clunky pieces that are necessary to make this work.
Do you want to explain what covenants are, Shinobi?
Well, so the basic way that Bitcoin works is when you create an address, what you're actually doing is defining a little computer program that defines the proof that you have to provide in order to spend those coins. And all of these programs can do is restrict the kind of ability to spend. But once you've provided that proof and met that condition, you can spend the coin however you want. Wherever you want, you can burn the coins forever if you want. The idea of a covenant is to have little primitives you can include in that program that restrict how it can be spent. So it's not just proving that you're allowed to spend it, but now these extra restrictions could say limit it so that they can only be sent to a certain number of predefined places, or like including other data or commitments with it. And the idea is that when you are trying to build these layer 2 protocols that interact with a lot of off-chain data, that's essentially what you want to do. You want to take the coins locked up in that layer 2 and restrict how they can be spent. And that's done very clunkily right now with pre-signed transactions, and that's kind of the only mechanism we have to do that. With covenants, you can natively enforce that in Bitcoin scripting system itself, and like Liam said, you no longer have to go through the process of signing what could potentially be a massive set of pre-signed transactions. You just define the logic of how you want to restrict coins and include that in this little locking program. And it simplifies a lot of the setup process, the overhead in that. It's just a lot cleaner and simpler.
Yeah, so last time I checked, there were like, I don't know, half a dozen, maybe a dozen variations of covenant proposals. And the problem is that everyone sort of has a slightly different preference, and therefore there's no consensus on any single one of them. So even though maybe the technical community at large wants covenants, because everyone has a slightly different preference, there's no actual progress towards any of them. Is that still the deadlock we find ourselves in today?
We're very gradually, I think, making progress with check template verify, CTV, and check sig from stack. Like essentially the most basic, simple covenants out there. I wouldn't say that they're going to get turned on or activated tomorrow, or there's like a mob screaming to turn them on now, but people are slowly coming to consensus that this is the bare minimum set of new functionality that everybody agrees would be useful, and just kind of moves us a little bit forward.
Well, is there even consensus on this panel for that?
No,
No.
I mean you're wrong, Shinobi. You're losing the battle. So I mean the only moment that you guys had any opportunity to activate CTV and checksig from stack was when we were pushing opcat, and you could sort of swoop in and say, don't listen to Eric and Udi, they're going to enable MEV on Bitcoin. We're the good guys, and we're going to save you from like the MEV effects of opcat. So let's do CTV instead, and everything's going to be fine. And then we said, okay, we'll take our foot off the gas pedal, and we'll let you guys, and this was back in April. I told you guys, we're going to let you guys go and activate CTV. And since then, like, nothing's happening. It's been 4 months now, and you guys are like, well, if you look at the discussions that are going on in like Bitcoin culture right now, like people are like running NOTS nodes, going after Gloria Zhao and Peter Woolley, and you're having a nonsensical, useless art. Like the conversation is completely deteriorating. You guys are not doing a good job. You're not getting it closer at all. You're actually losing the control. And even further than that, like all of this whole entire discussion is going to be completely irrelevant 1 year from now if the big elephant in the room here is that we're in the middle of a corporate takeover of over Bitcoin. Like none of us are going to matter at all a year from now. Bitcoin treasury companies keep accumulating Bitcoin. People are not interacting with the chain. There's no fees. There's no activity on the chain. New users don't even interact with the chain. They're not going to care about like why should we change.
Eric, I think you need to take a white pill and calm down.
Well, but how do we move forward, though? That's the question that has been a question for 5 years now.
Bitcoin is a decentralized, chaotic mess. It has always been like this. Like, just because Bitcoin is bigger and that mess seems bigger doesn't mean that the situation is fundamentally changed. Like, yes, these treasury companies are getting involved, but what is their interest to resist features that the rest of the network finds useful and valuable if it doesn't affect them at all? All they're doing is buying the asset and holding it for the price appreciation. It doesn't matter what features are or are not active on the network from their point of view. Like, it's irrelevant to them.
But Shinobi, you're like, you've turned into like one of the most like hated figures of what is left of the fragment of the Bitcoin maximalism cult. They all hate you now for no reason, basically. They're having nonsensical arguments about spam when the fees are at historical lows. They're lower than what the filters even allow them to be in the past. I don't know how you can like sit comfortably and say, oh, you know, things are going well, it's going fine. Like, whatever what is left of the Bitcoin maximum, the core interested group in Bitcoin, they've gone completely off the rails. And
Eric, they will die. They will fade off into cultural irrelevance, and Bitcoin will be far better off for it. I'm having a great time. Like, people want to be stupid on the internet and virtue signal because they have a few $100s of Bitcoin and they're here to defend it. Have fun. Go do that. It's ultimately irrelevant in the grand scheme.
But we are not going to have a path to influence protocol changes anymore when the corporate takeover of Bitcoin that is currently underway has reached its fruition.
More use cases, more ability for the network to support more users creates more aggregate demand for the asset, which is beneficial for these treasury companies.
Sure, but the question is how is the next protocol upgrade ever going to happen if it's just one big mess where no one agrees on anything anymore, which
that's
appears
like
to be the case.
asking, you know, what's going to happen on the road when you drive across town? You don't know. Like, this is, there is no precedent for Bitcoin in terms of how to upgrade it. Every major upgrade that has been done in the last 10 years, the process went completely differently. It was activated in a completely different way. Like, the way that the user base, the network was convinced to activate it occurred differently. Like, there is no handbook to any of this. There's just dive into the mess and let's see what we can do.
There's never been greater distrust between the Bitcoin core developers and the grassroots pleb community than it is right now. Like, that problem is worse than it's ever been. There's greater like discohesion within the Bitcoin community than there's ever been, and it's getting worse. And in order for soft forks to happen, there needs to be cohesion between the developers. Like they have to have some trust. But people are like hating core developers now because they have like some gender political issue, that they have the wrong hair color, or they don't
Eric,
eat red meat.
There is a 0% chance that any business in this space that manages more than $100 million of user funds will ever run Bitcoin knots. There is 0% chance that happens.
Okay, guys, we have about 5 minutes left. So the title of the panel is, what features does Bitcoin need for global adoption? So far, we've been talking about what potential new features could help with that. But in these last couple of minutes, let's turn it around for a minute. What features does Bitcoin have that it could potentially lose? Is that a risk? Like, for example, fungibility has been mentioned. Could Bitcoin lose the fungibility that it has right now to the point where global adoption is thwarted, basically? Liam, do you want to go first? Do you see that as a risk? Or it can be fungibility or anything else, really.
I guess it depends what you mean by adoption, right? There's like a future in which Bitcoin is, people only interact with it through intermediaries. And I think at that point it sort of becomes something else. Yeah.
Yeah, if Bitcoin is only used through, say, Bitcoin banks, then it becomes a different type of project.
Yeah.
But it's still a viable project, maybe even in that sense. Or what do you think?
I don't know. I mean, it's not meaningfully decentralized, so it's just like a total, it's like a stock or something.
It's at least not interesting. Shinobi, what do you think?
I mean, I pretty much agree with Liam. Like, we could absolutely see a future where people only interact with Bitcoin through trusted third parties. And, you know, I'm not personally interested in that project. I don't think that meaningfully changes the world in any way, but that's a project that could still be worth money. It could still become widely adopted in some fashion. It's just not going to be the tool that I hoped it would be in terms of creating a neutral platform that everyone interacts with economically. Like, that is what I'm here for, something that forces everybody to have to play by the same rules.
Yeah, well, that's basically the custody problem, right? But what about, for example, mining centralization? Is that, you know, could that existentially threaten Bitcoin's existence, in your view?
I'm not so sure it could existentially threaten its existence or its ability to become a valuable thing, but it would completely destroy its neutrality or its ability to be that system that you can use and no one can stop you from using it. Without a sufficient degree of mining decentralization, like it can become a gated permission system where the only way that you can actually use it is if those miners or whatever group is influencing their decisions allows you to. And that would be very unfortunate.
Eric, existential threats to Bitcoin?
I'll answer a slightly different question. I'll try to answer the question of the panel, like what features Bitcoin needs to reach global adoption. So,
yeah.
Does gold have global adoption? If you think yes, then yeah, Bitcoin can reach global adoption with the current features that it has. It can reach global adoption in the form of ETFs, in the form of corporate wrappers. Will it reach the libertarian goal of being universal hard money that is gives people liberties against state actors? Not in its current form, no. Not with its current features, but yes, it can reach global adoption. It is reaching global adoption, and that is actually the problem, that we're reaching global adoption with a product that doesn't really change society that much. And if we want Bitcoin to be something that doesn't only get global adoption, but actually changes society, then we have to stop fighting with each other and work together.
Yeah, good luck with that. Okay, I mean, according to my clock, we're almost out of time, but I'm not getting some sort of sign, so should we just keep going? What other potential protocol upgrades are in the pipeline? Like something like confidential transactions, is that still, you know, to get more privacy on the main chain, is that still something that's being seriously considered, for example?
I don't think that's ever going to happen.
I think it's better to do it through a SNARK and a rollup or something, like shielded CSV or ZK coins just makes more sense.
What else? We got drive chain. Is anyone still bullish on drive chain on this panel?
Paul is, wherever he is right now.
There's what's Rusty's proposal? That's the great script restoration.
Yes.
So what's the progress of that? Is that?
I think Rusty's been kind of slowly chipping at that, but he also works full time for Blockstream's Lightning implementation, so it's not something he's working on full time. And for those unfamiliar with that, the idea is essentially to add a couple of simple covenants to Bitcoin, as well as reactivate most of the old opcodes that Satoshi deactivated in 2010 with probably going to piss some people off with this, but essentially an equivalent of gas in Ethereum, so a way to rate limit the resources that those opcodes use on your node when they're being verified, to kind of ensure that nodes can't be denial of service attacked or crashed off of the network. I think the long term, that would be a very sound goal to work towards. The problem is just convincing enough developers to actually take an interest and get involved in moving that forward, because it just, frankly, Rusty does not have the time or the bandwidth to do that alone.
There are also subsets of opcodes from the Great Script Restoration that are maybe interesting, like integer multiplication, make things a lot better, elliptic curve operations. I don't know, various people propose different subsets of these at different times. There's always this tension between like doing something with the minimal set of opcodes in like a sort of stupid, ugly way, and doing it like well with more features. So.
And Eric, opcat would be part of that as well, right? Of the great script restoration.
Yes, I basically think of great script restoration as a nice rebranding of like opcat, like packages in a way that people more easily, drink without thinking that it's poison, because it's like been packaged very well by Rusty and it works for Blockstream. It used to. Where does it work now?
Well, I think the logic behind that is we know most of the things people would want to do with opcat if we activated that on its own right now. And a lot of the other opcodes that would be reactivated in the Great Script Restoration just provide like simpler, more efficient and concise ways of doing those things, so that rather than the clunky block space inefficient opcat versions, people could just directly use those other opcodes in combination with opcat to just keep things more cost effective, easier to ensure that they're going to behave and operate correctly, like things along those lines.
But great script restoration is not going to happen in like 4 years, realistic. Opcat could happen like next year if we wanted to. So it's like thinking about upgrades like 4 years into the future when we have no idea what the consensus climate or prospects are going to be of changing the protocol. I find it like a moot point, to be honest with you.
So we've been talking, this will be the last question, I think. So we've been talking a lot about Bitcoin protocol upgrades. What other futures do you guys think Bitcoin could benefit from, even if it's just user experience, futures in wallets or whatever it may be? Shinobi, what would Bitcoin benefit from?
I think one of the most important non-consensus things that we can do right now is work on collaborative custody solutions. Things like Unchained, Casa, Nunchuck, like ways where users can have full self-custody over their own funds, but another signer or a service provider can essentially be a helping hand, like protect you against some degree of key loss or mistakes that you make, or wallet compromises to ensure that your funds do not completely disappear if you mess something up with your key management. And I think in the short term, that could be a huge difference maker in terms of getting people to actually self-custody their own coins instead of just leave them on exchanges or purchase an ETF and then just walk away.
Well, I mean, yeah, to what extent is that even a technical problem, though? Like, maybe people just prefer to have their coins in custody somewhere, right? Just easier.
I think it's a matter of just weighing the risks of self-custody and ways that you can lose your funds versus the safety of a proper custodian who can take care of those risks for you. And I think if we bring the risk management of self-custody closer to a qualified custodian, more people would be willing to actually take that extra step.
Okay, we do have to wrap up. Liam, do you want to have any final thoughts on this topic?
I think that the Glock kind of paradigm BitVM stuff is interesting because it doesn't require changing Bitcoin. And so it works now and it kind of forces the question.
Eric?
Yeah, I think one underestimated risk basically is that the privacy of Bitcoin is so bad that if you've been a Bitcoin user for a while, even if you're taking your funds, depositing it into exchanges and then taking it out again, you will very soon be able to just ask ChatGPT 5, ChatGPT 6, and ask what is Shinobi's entire transactional history over the last 10 years? And it'll be able to stitch it together. It's an annoying process to do manually, but an AI could very easily break and trivialize the privacy characteristics of Bitcoin, such that I'm today scared myself to even touch any of my old wallets and commingle any of my funds. So it's, for me, that's the biggest issue, that I'm scared to interact with Bitcoin because I know that I'm leaving forever traces in a system that's very soon going to be much more transparent for state actors that want to link your transactional history together.
Yeah. All right, that's our time. Thanks, guys. Thanks, everyone, for being here. Give a hand of applause to our panelists, and enjoy the rest of the conference.